Welcome back. On Tuesday, former President Trump's defense team and Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg's team will begin closing arguments in the Trump versus New York trial. Then Judge Juan Merchan, he's going to provide the critical instructions to the jury on what the applicable law is in the case. Joining us now, Trump legal spokesperson Alina Habba. Alina, good to see you. So, again, all the evidence is in. On Tuesday, we're going to see summation or closing arguments. The jury is going to be instructed as to the law. What is your read on the case, but also your read on the instructions that are going to be given to the jury?
The instructions we've been going back and forth with are going to be finally tweaked. The concern with the instructions, which is frankly the most critical part, they have no facts. Let's be clear. I sat through this trial, and I would tell you if I was concerned on factual basis. But as I've said, and I'm not speaking now to posture for the president, but just generally as an attorney, as an American who understands the law and how to apply laws to facts, there are no facts that support this alleged crime. We're not even sure what the crime is. So it's a books and records issue. We have to make sure that the jury charges that Judge Merchan, who, again, we have said is severely conflicted for reasons that I can't speak to because of the unconstitutional gag order. But this judge is the judge that determines the jury instructions. The jury instructions are the roadmap for non-attorneys and jurors to follow the law. It's going to be critical, and frankly, at this point, I have zero confidence in the fact that this person, who should not be sitting on the bench right now, will do the right thing and give jury instructions that are in an appropriate manner without any persuasion towards the prosecution. There's my biggest concern. It always has been. There was no case. As we saw, the taxpayer dollars have been wasted for 8 years for a case that has passed the statute of limitations that doesn't exist in a political campaign to take down Trump. So now you've held jurors for 5 weeks. We've been sitting here. We saw no facts. And the last resort for the prosecution is going to be this judge with political motivations going to give them instructions on how to decide the fate of a former president and the future president of the United States.
Well, listen, as we've watched this case unfold, it's interesting. There's been so much irrelevant evidence presented to the jury. I think it's going to be important for Team Trump to simplify this case and apply it to the facts that are given. I think that's going to be the mission at hand on Tuesday. I spent 10 years in a courtroom, and I have never seen a judge say, we're going to wait a week after the evidence closes to actually do closing arguments and then give jury instructions. This is unheard of. But I'm going to tell you what, there's a silver lining in this, Alina. Donald Trump needs a juror or jurors who are driven by justice to fight for him. I don't want a juror on Thursday or Friday going into Memorial Day weekend to go, you know what, I got a party going on, I want to end this case early. So starting on Tuesday, there's nothing on the calendar. We're not going into a holiday weekend. I think it could bode well for President Trump, for those people on the jury who understand the law and the facts to fight for him and fight for justice. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong. The only counter argument to that, and of course it's the lawyer in me to give you the counter, but the counter argument to that is these are not sequestered jurors.
True.
They should have been sequestered because, in my opinion, these jurors are handling something that is completely unprecedented and unwarranted in America. And for them to be able to be out and about on a holiday weekend with friends and families who have opinions, who are watching the news, TV's on the background at the pool party, I have serious concerns. If they're left-winging and they're watching MSDNC, as my client calls it, or CNN, they're not going to get fair news. They're going to hear, but by the way, they have been saying that this case is a hoax, which is shocking. But they know that the jurors are out there listening, and I have concerns about that. Time can be on your side. Sometimes you're right there. But in this instance, I have worries about them going back to whatever friends might have, Trump derangement syndrome, forgetting all sense of reality and coming back and sitting in that box and saying, you know what, I've got to take one for the DNC. I don't want that. I want law to fact, because if we can get that, we will win. We will not just get a hung jury, we will get an acquittal. So let's see.
But you had 5 weeks where those jurors were probably interacting with those same left-wingers. They got to see Donald Trump in the Bronx and all the love and support he got from communities that you normally don't see with Donald Trump. I want to pivot to this because legal expert Alan Dershowitz, he called Judge Merchan a tyrant. And now we have Elise Stefanik, Congresswoman from New York, who has filed an ethics complaint against the judge, claiming that he is conflicted because of his daughter who works for the Democrat Party. We might think this, again, who your family works for, not a big deal if you have a judge that's fair in the case. But when we see the politics of this case, it does beg the question and the appropriateness of Elise Stefanik filing the ethics complaint against this judge.
I think there was, and I can't speak specifically to it, I'll only speak generally because of the gag, but there was financial motivation there. That's more critically important. There can't be financial motivation in donations. Look it up, but that's the key issue here. So he 100% should have recused. We're past that point. At this point, that's a good issue for an appeal because the judge refused to recuse himself. But there is no question that it's politically motivated. And there's also no question that their political motivation has hurt the Democratic Party. If you look at President Trump in the Bronx, the people coming out, people that felt that they've been persecuted, coming out in support of this man that they now see as somebody who's a victim of selective prosecution, who's been persecuted because of his politics, no different than going after somebody because of their race or their religion. That is President Trump. They have made him a victim because they are so aggressively desperate, because they have a candidate that cannot win, truly cannot win. He can't win on policies. He can't win on walking up the stairs. So they have to go to desperate measures. And now we're looking at it, and it's hurting them. We've got so much support out there. I can tell you from my personal life and my experience, I walk on the street, people just keep saying, keep fighting for America. We need our America back. And that's what's happening. It's turning. So I'm hoping for a verdict that makes sense, which should be a complete acquittal. Worst case, if there's politicization, which I'm sure there will be, there should be a hung jury. But I sat there was nothing. And I was sitting next to Alan Dershowitz in court when that judge lost his mind and threw the press out. The only time you censor the press is when you don't want them to hear our witness. It's crazy.
The American people do have interaction with the criminal justice system, whether it's in the newspaper or friends or family members. And they've looked at this case and they go, I've never heard or seen anything like this. They truly are confused, which is why Donald Trump has gone up in the polls since these charges. It hasn't been the other way around, as which Democrats had hoped. Alina Habba, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day. All right.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.